Gotcha.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will go ahead and there's loads of food in the back. Drinks are to the left. Just please help yourself to lunch. We're going to eat as we present the bill, and I think the chairman's probably going to eat a little bit maybe once he gets started. But we've got another minute. Want to make sure everybody has the opportunity. Please grab a plate. We have another minute.
About the screening on Wednesday.
Yes. Good. As members are coming in, again, please eat. I want to thank our sponsors. Brandon Reese, I saw him over here a second ago. Stand up, Brandon. Wendy Clifton, is she in here? Wendy is has been involved with this industry for quite some time. Misty Holcomb, where are you, Misty? Stand up so they can see Misty. Misty has been involved in the film industry for a very, very long time. She's beginning to get gray hair like me. Matt Campbell is one of our newer members down on coastal Georgia and has done an amazing job with our coastal folks. Tucker Green, y'all know Tucker from all sorts of different places, but Tucker, all these folks have helped sponsor lunch. The members, I believe, have gotten their lunch, and except for one, if you'll save up a lunch for the presenter of the bill. For those of you in the audience, as you can tell, I want to thank our sponsors one more time, but please help yourself to the to lunch. For anyone that's in the room, we kind of live well over here on the Economic Development and Tourism Committee. So first things first, we're going to go directly into the presentation of the bill. So, Mr. Chairman, I think some of you that have been on the committee before heard this last year. So I'm going to turn it over to you. What number is that?
7. It should be 7. In my
7.
Someone sitting here.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. And members of the committee and members in the audience, too. I'm Vance Smith. I represent District 138, which is part of Columbus, part of Harris County, and part of Troop. Those of you that have been on this committee or have been in the House may remember last year we brought a bill forward, and it was called the CHIPS Act, and it was the Richard H. Smith CHIPS Act. And Richard and I, Representative Smith and I were colleagues. We were in the same delegation in Muskogee County, along with Ms. Hughley, Mr. Reese, Ms. Buckner, and now Ms. Rice, who took Mr. Smith's seat after he passed away. But anyway, Mr. Smith, Representative Chairman Smith, was very instrumental in the CHIPS Act and CHIPS technology coming to the state of Georgia. And we've learned through a lot of meetings, and I want to recognize Mr. Bill Dudley, who's here today. He represents the Greater Columbus Chamber of Commerce and the Chips for Chips group in Columbus, Georgia. That's kind of headed up by Ben Mosier with United Way. A lot of meetings have taken place over the years, last couple of years, and to emphasize the need to bring chips and the chips manufacturing and the chips packaging industry to Georgia. Right now, over 90% of the chips that are made that go in your phone, your cars, and your appliances and everything are made in Taiwan. And so we want to encourage that industry to come to Georgia and locate. And we do have one company here, Upsalis is here, and Economic Development has done a great job of attracting industry. And so we want that chips industry to come. So this is a revamp of the bill that we had last year, and I want to thank Josh Stevens, who he and I, we've known each other a long time, and we've kind of worked over the summer and over the fall, and about every day I think we've worked on this thing. And we've met with Mr. Wilson, Pat Wilson, Mr. Christopher Nunn, Commissioner DCH, the governor's staff, and so we've come up with this bill. And to me, the goal is is to send the correct message outside of this building to the industry and let them know that we in Georgia would love for them to come and locate here. So that is the thrust of this whole bill, and it's very short. You take a look at it, you'll see on the front page this name, Richard H. Smith CHIPS Advancement in Research and Economic Development Act. That's kind of long. But second page, you'll see the definition of the term commission. You'll see some of the responsibilities on that second page, item 1 through 6. It's talking about working with our higher education system, people that are in that industry that know the CHIPS industry, working together. One college here, Georgia Tech, has been on the forefront of the CHIPS industry. Matter of fact, they just received a federal grant. They'll be running for 5 years and approximately $100 million. So this gives them a kind of an outline of what we'd like for them to do. And then on the third page, you'll see the commission that's talked about, and you'll see the appointments by the governor, Speaker of the House, Lieutenant Governor, and we want these people to work together to entice that industry to come to Georgia. It's got a sunset on it, June 30th, 2028. That's 3 year. And so I think that sends a very good message to the community, to the state, and to the nation and the world, matter of fact, of we mean business, and we would like for them to come. I do appreciate economic development and Josh and DCA, everybody working together. And if you have any questions, that's the thrust of the whole bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Members of the committee, do you have questions on the bill? Josh, would you like to speak to the bill? No. I did just hear a motion to my right to do pass, so I have seconds all over the place. Those in favor of the bill will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The bill moves on to the Rules Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you, please get lunch while it's still hot. And I want to bring up the lady in 2008, whenever things were really, really tough. And I think I'm going to get her to go to that end right there. When things were really tough, y'all might remember, if you got gray hair like me, that the banks were closing, people were losing their homes. It was very, very difficult, to say the least. And we all decided we needed to do something. We need to do it in a hurry. And we decided to get back into the movie making business, and we decided that it was the right thing to do. It created jobs, and we never dreamed that it was going to explode like it did. But the lady that was there from the get-go is Lee Thomas over with the film office, and I'm going to ask her to take the floor.
Thank you so much, Chairman Stevens. I appreciate it. And thank you to the members of the House Economic Development and Tourism Committee. I appreciate you letting me come in and talk to you a little bit today about the film industry and how we work with it. We are one small division of economic development. We are a 6-person division in the Department of Economic Development, which is, as you know, the sales and marketing arm for the state of Georgia. And we are in there with the Georgia Council for the Arts and International Trade, Global Commerce, all of those organizations, and of course tourism. Our office was actually started in 1973, but we didn't really get going until 2008, did we? We had a couple of decades before incentives started where the business was picking up. We definitely had a ramp up, and we built a crew base and infrastructure, but then our business kind of fell off. What we do at the office is we oversee the front end of the film tax credit. We offer location assistance to productions that are trying to shoot in Georgia. We scout with them. We help them find crew and help crew people find work. And we help people find office space and stage space. And also logistic assistance, just as they need it. The industry evolution, as the chairman said, I started back in 1996, and that was before, it was just as cell phones were starting. There was no internet. We started, we were driving, that's right, we were driving around the state, and we had, pockets full of dimes and quarters to call on payphones. So yeah, so we, it's been a long run. So then in the late 1990s, we saw Canada put in place incentives to try to bring what had been a U.S. business across the border, and it really worked. We really started losing our business, and our crew people were having to find other jobs and or move to other markets, and we saw a lot of our vendors close. So then, the icing on the cake was, if you're a Georgia native, you know that Ray Charles is a Georgia native. That's right. So we had scouted with Ray Charles, the Ray Charles story. They love what they saw. Of course, we have the right locations because it's home to him. They opened an office, and then Louisiana started an incentive. And as soon as they did that, they picked up and moved. They closed their office, they picked up and moved. And the icing on the cake was they used the Louisiana State Capitol as our capital. And so that made the legislators mad, didn't it? And so that's how we ended up getting our incentive. Now, the first one passed in 2005, and it was a little bit complicated. It was hard for producers to budget with. So then in 2008, it was streamlined, and that became the basis, the basis of what we have today. We work, we do the front end of certifying which projects count for the tax credit, but we work very closely with the Georgia Department of Revenue. They're in charge of the back end. So we certify which projects count. We also are in charge of ensuring that they fulfill the promotional value, the final 10% piece, and that they're distributed. And on the back end, the Department of Revenue does a very rigorous audit where they make sure that all of the people that are utilizing the program are Georgia vendors and that all the expenditures are qualified. And both agencies promulgate rules and regs to go with those bills. And it's had a huge impact statewide. This is just one example, Stranger Things. They just wrapped up season 4, but this is season 3. They shot at over 40 filming locations, and they had over 2,000 crew members in this state. And they spent over 15,600 room nights, a lot of hotel, a lot of heads in beds. And I just want to show you as a visual, I thought it was interesting. So they had one page of locations for over 40 locations, but for vendors, there's 561 vendors that they used in the state of Georgia. So, and they're, all the way from Blue Ridge down to Valdosta. So big impact from just one show here. And on average, in our busy years, we do between 350 and 400 shows. And by shows, I mean either a feature film or it could be a television series. So the impact that it has had, as I'm sure all of you know, has been enormous. Back in 2007, before the incentive, we had the direct spend was $135 million in 2007. Our best year, which was FY22, we were at $4.4 billion. To give you an idea, like what that means, the first 35 years when our office was started in 1973, all the way up to 2008, we did $1.4 billion. So in 1 year, we tripled it, which was pretty good. I think the incentive worked well. Unfortunately, the last couple of years, there have been union strikes and work stoppages, and then the next year there were the threat of union strikes, and that also hurt us. There has also been, in general, a contraction of the industry a little bit. So this past year, we did $2.6 billion, which is we're still well above most of the other markets. But we've seen a contraction of the industry a little bit. They kind of overspent coming out of the pandemic. And we've also seen the exchange rates in foreign markets do very well. So overall, in the United States, production is down about 40%. Overseas, it's down about 20%. So we're doing better than most. As a result of this tax credit, we've seen a tremendous, growth in our infrastructure. So we've seen, from the Motion Picture Association, I know that you'll hear from Brandon in a few minutes about that, but they said that there are 4,800 motion picture and support service companies. But in addition to those ones that are directly related to the film industry, there's also thousands of companies that are utilized that have nothing to do with the film industry. For example, just 6 of the Motion Picture Association companies paid more than $993 million to more than 15,000 different vendors in Georgia in 2022. So you see there's, only 4,800 motion picture companies, but they spent over 15,000 different companies. And those could be landscaping or lumber or carpeting companies, caterers or security, any kind of company statewide. Also stages. If you haven't gotten a chance to go out and see a stage, you should go out and see one. They're pretty amazing, the sound stages that have been built here. So for many of the years that I've been at the film office, up until about 2010, there was one purpose-built sound stage, and that was in Sonoy, and it's Riverwood, and was 45,000 square feet, and that's all we had. And so it made it very difficult to try to attract big projects. I mean, we'd go out and talk to Marvel, but we didn't have anywhere to put a Marvel, a show that large. Now we have almost 5 million square feet of stage space, so we are very well equipped to handle even the biggest shows. One of the issues of having, 159 counties in a 6-person office is just ensuring that we have a great representation of all counties throughout Georgia. So in 2010, we started something called the Camera Ready Community Program. And through that program, all 159 counties have a designee that interfaces with our office. So if we get a script and we have locations that we don't have a great representation in our database for, we shoot it out to all 159 counties in hopes that those people can help us find locations. And they're the people on the ground. We offer them training to help them try to attract projects and how to work with projects and host projects, and hopefully train them to leverage assets on the back end if there's film tourism opportunities. So it's a great extension of our office. The other challenge for us, just because of the level of business, has been the workforce. And in 2015, Governor Deal had something called the High Demand Career Initiative. And the first meeting he had that was industry specific was for the film industry. And out of that came the Georgia Film Academy. Film Academy is at 31 campuses throughout the state. 15,000 students have registered through it, and 1,250 students have had hands-on training. And when you're doing this hands-on training, you have, 2 different courses. One is an overview course, one is in a concentration, and the third one you can do hands-on training on, one of the television shows, and you're being paid for it, which is great. So you come through this whole program in a matter of months, and, on average, the students, the average salary in the film industry is about $84,000 a year, so that's pretty good. There's a lot of ways that Georgians get involved with this industry. They can list their house or their business as a location for shooting. We have a database. It's free. Also, they can list their services, any companies, or, as a crew person, they can list their services there and search for available jobs there. So here are just some of the resources, if you're interested, that the Department of Economic Development has for filming. And that's it. I appreciate the time.
Secretary.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. I was on I think it's called TikTok, but I'm going to call it Trump Talk since he saved it. There's an ad from Texas, True to Texas initiative that I guess is lobbying their legislature to follow suit, I guess a little late, on what Georgia's done, and they wanted to call themselves a New Hollywood. I guess they should be trying to become the New Georgia. But has your office analyzed other states trying to mimic Georgia, and the possible threat that might have in terms of making sure we stay up to date on the incentives that are drawing people to Georgia and not others in terms of that economic benefit?
Sure, absolutely. Georgia, I think, at one time was considered to probably have the best incentive in the world, and that's not necessarily the case anymore. Other people have copied Georgia and have exceeded Georgia in some cases, and sometimes we're up against exchange rates. The great thing about Georgia is we got out early. We were one of the first ones, and we have a lot of the pieces of the puzzle that takes a long time to create. Like when you think about 5 million square feet of infrastructure, those kind of things. We have a deep crew base now. One thing great we have is the diversity of locations when you think about, the mountains and the coastline, the big cities and the small towns. I mean, we're head-to-head with New Mexico, but New Mexico has a very specific look. We can, pretty much every script that we get, we haven't mastered glaciers yet, but everything else we can pretty much find it in our database. So all of those things with the, world's busiest airport and having a temperate climate, we were again, Michigan had a 43% tax incentive, but they had no crew, no infrastructure, so people had to bring everything in, which cost them money. Plus, you're not shooting outside in February in Michigan. Look at us today. It's nice. So all of those things make us a better package, and people like the quality of life here. But it definitely, I think it warrants keeping an eye on it because people are competing for this business.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the infrastructure you've developed so we don't have to be worried as much of Mr. McConaughey's ploy to try to take that industry that you've worked hard to cultivate.
Well, it's done because of y'all. Without it, I mean, that's how they make the decisions. It used to be all about locations. Now the accounting offices, run budgets, and whoever has the best bottom line, then they have to choose between that short list of prospects. So we appreciate y'all's support.
Mr. Minority Whip.
Thank you for the promotion there, Mr. Chairman. I wish you'd have said speaker, but I'll take it.
Trying to help you out there.
I just wanted to say that, and I was sitting here thinking and listening to your presentation, great presentation too. I'm the longest serving person on this committee, probably by a mile, but this is my 22nd year on this committee. When Speaker Ralston asked me did I want to be on appropriations, I said yes, if it does not take me off economic development and tourism. But there's some things we have to be, and with all the successes, he doesn't get near enough credit. But the godfather of this industry in the legislature is Chairman Stevens. It was his initiatives back in the 2000s when we thought the world was falling, and our reserves had fallen to, $50 million in the rainy day fund, that he came up with the tax programs, which leads me to let's not take anything for granted. It cost. We've had grumbles over a few years about what has it done, what has it produced. Tell you what it's done. It's produced the cottage industry here. It made people recognize the peach that had no idea what the peach was. And if we are not vigilant and keep up with others, ask Louisiana, won't folk pull out overnight? They will leave overnight. We need to be aggressive in our incentives, just as aggressive as we were to get Hyundai. See, one thing about folk can love you, but they want to know, what have you done for me lately? And we have to be aggressive in making sure that upstarts like New Mexico and Michigan and some others, and they're upstarts, they're babies, and we want to spank them and keep them where they are. And the way you spank them, with the incentives you offer, that offers jobs. If you in just about every county in Georgia, somebody has benefited. Particularly, I'm near Savannah. We've certainly benefited, and so we need to be vigilant and be very aggressive in our incentive program. We got a rainy day fund that's running over. It could be bigger than that if we use some of it to make sure that we pull some folk who now make us compete with a couple other states that we didn't have to compete with. Let's be aggressive. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for all the work you've done and how you handled it here. Thank you. With that, I yield it. Y'all do what you want to now.
Thank you.
Solomon, you're next.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the presentation. Besides the workforce shortage that we have, or had, hopefully we didn't have that so much any longer. Besides that and the tax credit that might be sort of drifting away, is there any other challenges that you all see that's affecting the growth? Because I can see on there the decline from 2022 and 2023 and 2024. In order to keep the trend up, what other challenges are you all experiencing besides those two that you mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, some of it has to do with, just a contraction of the industry. Coming out of the pandemic, I think there were so many new streaming companies and platforms, and they were all competing to try to become the biggest fish. So it was kind of an eat or be eaten climate. And I think everybody was just throwing everything they had at the wall to try to make content. And I think they woke up and realized they weren't all making money. And so we definitely saw a contraction of the industry, which we're still experiencing. And they stockpiled so much content that they're kind of just whittling through that. So we are seeing this year, just in these last few weeks, the business has been picking up. So we feel like we're going the right direction. But some of this stuff, exchange rates, we have no control over that. But I feel like the same things that have put us where we are going to be the same things that are going to get us back on track. So I feel like we're going the right direction.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me point out again that for those that stand in the back, we're going to have a lot of good information coming. We've got some seats back here. Please come and make yourself home. And like I say, those committee members, there's an amazing lunch there. Just help yourself as we're going through this stuff. Thank you, Lee, so much. Would you like to say something? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have a question?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Press your, yes, ma'am.
Oh, I don't have a button. Here you are. Okay. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I'm so happy about the industry. I'm from Savannah, like Representative Williams, and we have a great relationship, and we have great movies that are filmed in our area. But you mentioned that you have a program for students to get them involved into the interest, the
Georgia Film Academy.
Yes. How are they selected? Or do you have a way where they can apply in order to get into the program that you have?
Yes, ma'am. It's not our program, but we work very closely with them, and they report to the Board of Regents. It is a partnership between the university system of Georgia and the technical college system, and there's 3 ways you can go in. You can go in through a state school if you're enrolled. You can go in through a technical college school if you're enrolled. Or if you don't want to enroll and get credit hours for participating, you can just go in through continuing education through a technical college system if you don't want the credit, and just take the courses and go through that way.
Thank you.
And if you need more information, I'm happy to refer you to the director.
Okay.
Yes.
Just for the committee, Representative Jackson used to be the mayor of Savannah, and there was a point. In fact, she was a very good mayor of Savannah. There was a point in Savannah where the Savannah College of Art and Design students had no place to go before 2008 to get into this industry. They had to basically just leave the state, and now they have a dedicated program. And you can imagine, I'm not going to say the tuition is cheap there at all, but it has grown the city of Savannah's facelift like you can't imagine. And they have jobs in Georgia, and that's what we're all looking for. But thank you, Lee. I can't thank you enough for y'all coming and talking to us.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Chairman.
The Motion Picture Association, MPA. And as they're coming up, I want to recognize the other piece of this. As you know, we're going through the process. They get approved for the projects that they're going to do, but the other half of that is Department of Revenue. And Austin Gibbons, why don't you stand up so people know who you are? Part of the big team, and I just want to say thanks while you're here.
I'll do the same.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you so much for having me today. If I could call your attention to this old school blue handout that I've provided to the members of the committee. I'll be working a little bit off of that.
Okay.
My name is Brandon Reese. I've been working with many of you in and around the state capitol for more than 20 years. And now I'm representing the Motion Picture Association of America. I've gotten permission from our attorneys to continue saying of America here because I represent the southeastern states. It's 15 states. The MPA is the leading advocate for movies, television, and streaming production across the world. But I'm glad that I'm here in Atlanta because this is such an important location for us. And when I say us, we're made up of 7 companies. and that includes Disney. We understand that Marvel is a subsection of Disney. They've done Moana recently down at Trilith. If you'll turn to the last page, there's a little teaser that we may talk just a little bit about before this is over. The Captain America movie that's coming out next week that Chairman Stevens pointed our attention to. But they've seen all kinds of stuff down there. But Disney is more diverse than just Marvel and Trilith, where they do business. It's ABC News and a plethora of all kinds of other broadcasting and streaming services. Sony Pictures. A lot of people don't realize that Sony did the Spider-Man movies that saw our favorite action hero swinging through the streets of Atlanta, quite literally. And they love filming in Georgia. They also did 6888. I see Karen Pope here from Tyler Perry Studios. No, I'm sorry, that's Netflix. So pardon me on that. I'll talk about that in just a minute. Yeah, so Sony. Okay, we'll move on to Netflix. Stranger Things, of course, that Lee mentioned. We're so proud to have been a part of that. A Netflix show. And then 6888 with Kerry Washington. That's the one that was down at Tyler Perry Studios where they partnered together and put out a heck of a movie that I sure enjoyed, that I hope you have taken the time to watch it too. Universal Pictures, been around for 100 years. They've got a 15-year commitment with Assembly Studios in Doraville. I see Toby Carr is here representing Assembly Studios, a strong partner of ours, keeping these jobs in Georgia. And they were responsible for the recent Wicked movie that I really enjoyed. Paramount, it's the Yellowstone television shows that we've all seen, Lioness. Here closer to Georgia, BET is a part of the Paramount family, as well as broadcasting like CBS Sports that does the Masters, CBS News, etc. And then Warner Brothers, Madam Mayor, Juror Number 2 was shot in Savannah. It's just an awesome spot and captured the community and the beauty of that wonderful town. And they've also got like TNT Sports, CNN. They have strong representation here with Skin Edge if you need to talk with anybody with Warner Brothers. And finally, MGM Studios is another one that's been around for 100 years. They're back with the Motion Picture Association now through their new ownership with Amazon. And MGM Studios has put out a good flick here recently, and it's called The Idea of You with Anne Hathaway. And that one was filmed in Virginia Highlands, so it was a great exposure for Georgia, and they've done well with their streaming and the box office on that one. I have to say that I think Lee was being modest, because the Film Incentive Program, in my opinion, is arguably the best in the world, and that's what Lee said too. But what she didn't say was what also makes Georgia so attractive is Lee and her office, their willingness to pick up the phone, their willingness to work shoulder to shoulder to answer complicated questions that production companies have and production executives have, and film tax representatives have when they're going through the process. So it's a true partnership type situation. And the same thing goes for Austin and Chester and the commissioner and their team over at the Department of Revenue. And that's not the case in every jurisdiction, and it really does make a difference in addition to the film tax incentive. The institutional knowledge that this legislature has through Chairman Stevens, Yasmin Neal knows all about this industry. Townsend Herring knows all about this industry, and those types of things make a difference when you're discussing and debating these bills, to have built-in champions that we can count on. And that leads to certainty and predictability when it comes from the top with Governor Kemp, as well as the state legislatures. And in the other 14 states that I represent, I can't say the same for all of them. So that does make a big difference. I'll just call your attention one last time to the Captain America Brave New World. More to come on that. If you haven't already received some information, you're going to, and that's all I will say about that here today. But I'm also available for any questions now, but more importantly, always, we want to be here at the Motion Picture Association to provide you with honest and accurate information. I'm a phone call away. Chris Carpenter and the folks at Cornerstone represent the Motion Picture Association, and I don't know that I mentioned the crew and the vendors, and you know, the Georgia Film Academy who puts out the crew that Wendy represents makes a huge difference as well. And like Lee said, the venues. When we bring people from California and other places to see locations like Tyler Perry Studios and Trilith, they're completely blown away at the newness and the cleanliness and the professionalism that is exhibited in all of these places throughout Georgia. So I think that's us in a nutshell. Chairman Stevens, thank you so much again for having us here today.
Members got questions for Brandon?
Is he nominating Lee for governor? I don't know.
I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say no.
Press your button.
Thank y'all.
Okay. Thank you, Brandon. Wait a minute, Brandon.
One question, Brandon.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think you're on.
Hey, Brad. How are you doing today?
Good. How are
Great.
you?
I'm good, thank you. Just want to put a plug in for Macon. I can't
Yes,
let Savannah
yes.
and all the rest of these guys.
I got a call
say anything.
from the film office just yesterday, and so I owe them a call back. And
Yeah,
Tanja's
we're-
staying after me too.
Yeah, we're on fire down there. We've got a good mayor. He's doing a good job, and they're ready to give away a little bit of more money down there. Okay.
Message
So-
received.
All right. Bring them home. Bring them home. Bring them home. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Is it Latsy? Yeah, that's right. IATSE.
Chairman.
I can never get that out in one syllable. Wendy Clifton.
Good afternoon. Wendy Clifton on behalf of Terminus Strategies. And we represent both IATSE and the Teamsters Union in Georgia. So I just want to talk a little bit about those two organizations and what they do in the film industry and why actually we have unions in this space, because generally speaking we don't have unions in Georgia for the most part. I like to think about the film industry kind of like the Hyundai plant and economic development story, because if you look at the Hyundai plant, there's this giant stretch of building that's going on where they're going to build the cars, right? That's kind of MPA and the film office. They kind of run everything. And then inside the plant are all the workers, and that's the folks that we represent. The IATSE. IATSE stands for, and you have your one-pager in front of you, but I'm not going to name all the acronyms that IATSE stands for, but it's basically all the folks behind the camera. So it's the people that build the sets, it's the folks who do makeup and costumes and all those different pieces of the puzzle. And then the Teamsters are the ones who drive the trucks to the locations. The one thing that's different about a Hyundai plant versus the film industry is that the film industry is constantly moving to wherever the location is best suited for the project. And so I give you that analogy because when we were fighting to maintain the tax credit last year, there were lots of discussions about the audit process and how the audits were not really easy to understand because you're not comparing apples to apples. Because what we do in the film industry is not the same thing as a fixed location for an economic development project that is going to stay there until they don't exist any longer. So I just wanted to offer that up. But IATSE represents about 7,500 members across the state of Georgia, and they do all of that work that I just described. We also do a great bit of education with the Film Academy. We work hand in hand with Lee Thomas in her office. And on the Teamsters front, and you'll see in their explanation, it's only about 2,000 of the Teamsters drivers that drive for the film industry. The remaining Teamsters, mostly for UPS, and they do some other things that are in our one-pager as well. But that's really what the tax incentive was originally passed for, as I understand it, Chairman Stevens and Representative Williams as well, because you were here helping those votes that happened back in 2005 through 2008. And during that time frame, IATSE, when they first started, had 500 members, and now we're at 7,500 members. So that really does show you how this industry has grown, changed the face of Georgia. And I did have, I don't know if it's available, that there was the video that Representative Saines mentioned earlier. I don't know if it's teed up for you guys to see it, but it's a short 2 or 3 minute video. But it's a bunch of actors in the state of Texas talking about how they are behind the 8 ball and haven't done anything on the film industry, and they call out none other than Georgia as the #1 state in the country that they need to overtake. And so I don't know if that's available, Mr. Chairman. I'd sent it to Ashley.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I'm not clicking anything. That's for you. Yeah, see, that's way more questions than I was willing to deal with. Look at that, see? I'm so glad I didn't click on anything.
Good job.
Yeah, for not choosing to click? Yes, sir. You're right about that.
Al, I just want to see you in a movie.
Well, at a cost
your
you.
personality.
I don't do the free things. He's going to cost you.
Remember the guild.
Hang on. Here it goes. Volume up.
Let's make it.
I think you just hit play. There you go. Oh, no, there's no volume.
Is there?
There's no volume.
It's bottom left. Where the other volume is.
That there. It's open. It's not playing.
It's not gonna.
Oh, well.
Video system.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. If you're interested in it, I'm happy to send it to you. It's like I said, it's only like a 3-minute video, but I just saw it a couple days ago, and I thought it was really indicative of that is the reputation that Georgia has gotten because of the film industry, and I think that's great. I think it's awesome that other states are chasing Georgia.
Record with the sound off. So what? You just want to turn the record off? No. I want to change the tune. You know, I got a CD of Jonas Brothers B-sides, real deep cuts. Look, this industry's like somebody's memory of an industry, and the memory's fading. I'm talking about a whole new hub for film and television, a renaissance, a rebirth.
How about a wholesale takeover?
Yeah. Small fraction of Texas budget surplus could turn this state into the new Hollywood.
Well, but we're not going to call it Hollywood. We'll call it, like, Fort Worth, Beaumont,
Austin, Houston,
El Paso,
Longview,
McAllen,
the Alamo.
Frankston.
Yeah.
McConaughey, where are you guys? I'm already on set. Texas has pulled a boatload of money for film incentives last session. And this session, the sky's the limit.
No, we heading to Texas, Billy Bob.
All right, well, the barbecue guy just dropped the grub off, so you might want to get on down here. It looks damn good.
Hey, Billy Bob.
Yeah.
You're on in 5.
Okay, thanks, son. All right, dude, I gotta go.
Yep.
Hey, it's Renee. Renee.
Hey, y'all. Just heard from Billy Bob. Told me you're heading to Texas.
That was quick.
That's quick.
Damn.
Well, count me in. I've been hotel hopping in all these other states for way too long. And I get it. I mean, making a production is hard. And if all these other states are going to offer an incentive, then that's where we're going to keep going, you know? I just wish we could bring some of these productions home to Texas.
Well, get down here. Come on.
You know, she makes a good point. Why should all these other states take advantage of this investment, but not Texas? Exactly. We shouldn't have to shoot in Georgia. Or in Mexico.
Or South Carolina.
Or Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Why don't we just keep that money in Texas?
Ain't all that money like corporate welfare for big Hollywood studios? No, what it's not.
Lumber yards, restaurants, hotels, housing, thousands of jobs.
Real Texas business owners and citizens. You see, every dollar spent from this incentive puts $4 back in the state of Texas. Well, that's good ROI. Productions happen where incentives are.
Mm-hmm. Texas has the best land, best culture.
So why not the best incentives?
And look, it's not just films with A-list talent either. It's also the independents, commercials, local music videos.
They utilize local infrastructure. So you got all that out-of-state money going into Texans' pockets.
You're telling me my barber is going to benefit from Texas film incentives?
Well, maybe not your barber, but barbers. Sure.
You know, it just occurred to me that Texas is bigger than most countries. I mean, we got a greater variety of locations than anywhere.
We got deserts, oceans, we got forest, we got rolling hills. Is there anything we don't have?
It's time for Texas to become the home for telling stories that people want to see and hear.
Sounds like it's time for Texas to roll camera.
Yep. So what do you say, Texas legislature? You don't like what Hollywood's been dishing? Let's take over the kitchen. Yeah.
They don't have a peach to put at the end of their video like we do. But thank you for the opportunity, Chairman, to talk about the Georgia workers that this legislation has now impacted for almost 20 years. Our employees that work for both the Teamsters and the IATSE unions are incredibly grateful, not only for the tax incentive, but for your continued appreciation and support of the industry. We look forward to continuing to work with you all going forward for the next 20 years, and we hope that the film tax credit just continues to get bigger and better in Georgia. The last piece I wanted to circle up on as we pass the baton to the next couple of speakers is outside of that plant, of the Hyundai plant, are all these ancillary businesses. And in our industry, the ancillary businesses are what BIG Entertainment represents, and so we'll let them talk now about the piece that they bring to the puzzle.
Good deal.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Wendy. BIG.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
real
sir.
quick, when Matthew McConaughey does that, that does not mean hook 'em horns. It means how many times they've lost to Georgia this past year.
I like the way you put that. And while they're getting set, I might add that Skin also represents probably the largest game manufacturer in the country. One of the biggest anyway, with Turner. And of course, the graphics that goes into these films are integral in all the things that are going on future. So just thought I'd give you a plug.
Hello. Good. How are you? I don't want to. So sorry. All right, let me get this ready. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you so much. My name is Misty Holcomb. I'm with the Big Entertainment Network, and BIG stands for based in Georgia, because we represent the Georgia businesses that are here in the industry. It also represents businesses investing in Georgia, and this is Tucker Green. He's our executive director, and this is Matt Campbell, who works with me with government relations. So they'll talk in a minute and add more to it. But I appreciate what you said, Mr. Chairman. You and I have worked on this issue for many years. Started in 2012 with tax reform, and I represented EU Screen Gems, one of the stages. And at that time, there weren't any stages down here testifying. So Chairman and I we would get everybody on buses and try to show them Georgians working in the film industry that we realized then that we needed to differentiate ourselves from Hollywood. Sorry, Brandon. But we needed people to see that, Hollywood was here and bringing this in, like these productions here, and that these businesses, Georgians could form businesses or kind of take a current business and learn how to work in the film industry. Our members include, we have Kofor Brothers Lumber, who's a family business, been in business over 100 years, Lightning Truck Rentals. We have post-production companies and just any businesses across the state that work in the film industry is who we're representing to show that Georgia voice. This year we've expanded, and Matt Campbell can tell you more about that. But we've expanded our footprint because we believe the story's not just in Atlanta, it's all across the state. And we're just appreciative of the film tax credit that allows all Georgians to participate. You have 3 lifelong Georgians sitting up here. It's important to me that everybody has a chance to get a piece of this pie. And I think that as long as we keep supporting these businesses and making sure that they have a chance to operate, the sky's the limit on opportunities for Georgians. Yours again.
Yep. Thanks, Misty. Chairman, thank you. Always a pleasure working with you and members of your committee. I'm not going to speak too long. You've had some great presentations here today that's covered and really give a pretty comprehensive viewpoint of the entertainment industry here in Georgia. I just want to say, as you alluded to earlier, I represent a lot of different folks, a lot of trades, construction trades, hardworking small businesses across the state. That's kind of how I got introduced to this world. I had some overlap with some members and clients I work with who provide a lot of the support construction aspects to entertainment projects around this state. And so it's been a great opportunity for me to learn. Misty has so much knowledge of this industry, and Matt as well, and the other partners who've presented here today. And I know for me, I before I came into this industry, I kind of put everybody in the same bucket. And what I've learned, and I hope maybe one of the things you'll take away from today that I think a lot of the presenters have talked about, is there are so many communities around our state, so many businesses around our state that are impacted by the film and entertainment industry here. It really touches everybody. I think sometimes we just think of big Hollywood businesses, again, no offense, Brandon, but there are construction businesses, there are moving businesses, there are restaurants and hotels and mom and pop stores all across this state that are majorly impacted, and communities that are majorly impacted by the work that film and entertainment industry in general brings to our state. And so I hope, like I have learned, I hope if you don't already know that you'll learn about the different pieces of the puzzle, and we're going to kind of allude to some of that in our presentation now. So thank you again, Chairman, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Tucker.
Yeah, and you want me to do that? Yeah, I was just going to say, as I mentioned, we've been representing these businesses. We originally formed in 2014, and this year we've expanded. So I wanted.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, everybody, especially former Mayor of Savannah. I hail from the coast, and just up the road from my friend Al Williams there. I'm in Bryan County between Savannah and Liberty County. So a couple of years ago, had the privilege of kind of getting the Coastal Entertainment Alliance going, which was to serve the coastal Georgia citizens, right? Bring more opportunity. Back up Film Savannah, they do a great job, but to help them, but then also bring more production, more opportunity, more exposure to the folks and small businesses. Bryan County, Liberty County, McIntosh County, Long County, Camden County, Glenn County. Georgia's coast is beautiful. Fast forward a few months, and I met some different people around the state in rural parts of Georgia, South Georgia, Valdosta, North Georgia, then over in Columbus, and all those folks were eager to get more involved in this industry as well, and investing and training folks and wanting to bring productions to their beautiful part of the state and create jobs. And I think if you look in that video with that good-looking Matthew McConaughey, I'm glad my wife didn't see that. He is cute. They didn't just say, they did not just say Austin. They didn't just say San Antonio. We're just like here. Hopefully one day won't just say Atlanta. Hopefully we'll be able to say Macon. Savannah, we already said that a little bit, but how about Bryan County, where I live? Camden County, where we already have some cool things going down there with this group called Pigmental Studios, who are the real deal. How about Valdosta, Georgia? Columbus, Georgia? Augusta, Georgia? And they're already doing some good things, but there could be so much more, and there's some tweaks and things to do. But if you watch anything from those actors in that car, you heard them talk about the great things it provides to the state. And like Tucker mentioned, it's not just the big productions. Those big productions come, obviously, spend a lot of money, but then there's also so much more than that. Your hardware stores and your grips and people that work behind the scenes. Pickup trucks, stage builders, carpenters, welders, hairdressers. My daughter's in cosmetology school at Wiregrass Tech down in Valdosta, and that's beautiful. She's great at it. She can't do anything with my hair, but she makes my wife look good, when she dresses her up. Not that she doesn't look good anyway, but what I mean is that, but there's opportunity. There's opportunity for someone like her or other young people to work in that arena, right? She could be an IOTC member and do hair and makeup in the movies, whereas years ago, she wouldn't be able to live in Savannah and do that very much, or Richmond Hill. She would have to go to Hollywood, or now you might get in Atlanta. But as we build more opportunity around the state with things like that, it's just so good for everybody. And I know you mentioned Savannah and more to do with the Georgia Film Academy. Actually, I know Ms. Thomas referenced it. They're at Savannah State now. And if you have not been to Savannah State University to see the Georgia Film Academy in action, working with those students, it's amazing. And so my hope is that when those kids get done with that program, or in their internship, that there'll be some productions down there somewhere where they don't have to go so far away to get trained on a real movie. We have a cool video that combats what we just heard from that crowd in that Cadillac or whatever, the Lincoln, I guess. The post-production, visual effects post-production. So you'll understand after you see the video, visual effects post-production is another segment of making the movie. They do the finished products. They do the editing. They make everything look good. They're the last stand. And so this video is made by Moonshine Post, a member of the Big Entertainment Network. And Moonshine Post, Georgia people, Georgia natives, Georgia small business that employs some wonderful people. So if you check out this clip, we'd love to play it for you. Yeah.
Hi, I'm a post house owner in Atlanta, Georgia.
I'm an editor from North Georgia.
I'm a colorist, finishing artist,
producer,
composer, sound designer,
Post producer, GFA alum,
Georgia native.
I'm a post producer and I live in Kennesaw, Georgia.
We're not movie stars or executives. We're post-production.
We're the people who help Superhero Store turn sweltering Georgia's summer days into winter wonderlands.
And layer the music and effects that give life to moving picture.
We're the nerds behind the scenes,
cutting it all together
to bring you the next binge-worthy series or blockbuster.
Most of us are from Georgia and never had to leave our native state.
And thanks to technology and the economic wonder of the Georgia Film Incentive, I hope we never have to.
Because if you had told me 10 years ago, some kid from the sticks of Georgia would be editing on major studio projects, I'd have simply laughed. That's the beauty of what we've done.
Post-production is just one of many poster children.
Living proof of why other states want to replicate this magic in a bottle that is the tax incentive.
Except we can do it even better.
Because this ain't our first rodeo.
And since its inception in 2008,
the Georgia Film Tax Incentive has grown the direct spend of the industry
from millions to billions in 2022. It's an incredible strategic investment
that not only attracted major productions and companies to our state,
but it's also stimulated the local economy,
creating thousands of high-paying jobs
and giving birth to support industries
like post-production. And post is where the show all comes together.
And navigating the world of tax credits is no simple feat,
especially when attracting out-of-state enterprises
and fostering in-state prosperity.
But please consider post-production. Its very existence is a testament to a new era of economic development,
directly tied to the expansion of our local production credit.
And it also indicates a thriving ecosystem of small and medium-sized businesses
founded by Georgians, hiring Georgians, and larger businesses seeking a fertile environment for expansion and breaking new ground.
Moreover, these support service companies are tax-paying entities,
hiring well-compensated and highly skilled individuals from our colleges who also pay taxes.
And this growing industry segment enables the state to keep the entertainment project long after productions have finished shooting, capturing more and new revenue,
creating more opportunities, creating more jobs.
Not everyone understands tax policy.
And certainly not everyone understands post-production.
But these are real Georgia businesses and jobs.
Georgia-rooted humans.
Kid-toting Braves and Bulldogs fans.
And this new phase is the next step
in creating a permanent, sustainable, and successful industry
that Georgians can participate in and prosper from for generations.
It's the next step that grows Georgia beyond a touch-and-go production center. And that's why other states want to do what we do.
And what we do takes vision and investment.
So let's stay committed to fostering growth, entrepreneurship, and investing in the workforce for the long haul.
Let's keep the tax credit program healthy, and we'll proudly keep adding our names to the credits.
So next time you watch a movie and marvel at how real the unreal can be, remember Post.
We're the Alamo for storytelling.
The last stand to get it right before it hits the big and small screen. We're Post.
We're Post. We're Post.
We're Post.
We're Post.
We're Post. We're Post.
We're Post. We're not made in Georgia. We're made with Georgia.
Good clip.
Pretty cool. Thank you for your time, and any questions?
Yeah, and I was just going to say that Drew Sawyer is from Rome, Georgia, and he hired all Georgians, and they're working and has expanded every year. And post-production is something that, I want to make sure that we beat that drum for you guys, because it's something that, we have several companies that work with us, and a lot of them are homegrown, and it's a lot of work, and it's like the next frontier for keeping that work here in Georgia. So I just appreciate your time, and thank you for listening, because we're speaking for Georgians.
Thank you. I think Mike 3. Is that you? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt, you and Misty and Tucker, you don't know how much you mean to coastal and southern Georgia and the Savannah area, because you've proven that there are a lot of opportunities outside of the metro area. And you've opened Georgia up to really make it happen. And Matt, thank you for always keeping me in the loop. Sometimes I don't even want to hear from you, and I hear from you. But thank the three of you, and Big has really made an impact. It's really made an impact, and let's just keep doing what you're doing, okay? Thank you, sir.
Most of y'all might remember whenever the Screen Gym started over there, and they were kind of the lone guys whenever they first got started, that fairgrounds over there was where they made all of the Smokey and the Bandit movies, and every scene that was shot was pretty much in that direction. And I had one of the before you leave, I had one of the reporters call me today, and I'll just read you what he said, if you don't mind. It was, good morning. Regarding the film industry presentation today at 1 p.m., your committee today smells like news to me. Given the industry slowdown, you expecting members to have the hard questions about the slowdown. Well, my response to him is we've had 2 years of the and understand the unions that work for the film industry. They have a deadline, a set time, usually a big budget, and they got to make sure that they have professionals that come there, and that's where they rely on that. And I said, yeah. I said we should rely on the numbers that come in, and they'll get better now. The same as we do in the ports and the IRLA goes on a union strike. The same as Delta. The same as what happens anytime there's a $4.1 billion industry. And I told him, and quite honestly, that's one of the reasons the state of Georgia this year in their budget has additional revenues, because of the industry and the proliferation of that. So just as you know, in case you'll probably get stuck with maybe a microphone in your hand to see if we want to consider. But, that some of these states, North Carolina and specifically has, Louisiana's another, decided maybe they ought to cap the industry, and all those jobs came here. Right. So, just keep that in mind.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. And our smaller stages have been busy with commercials and independent films, so that's been good to keep that going. And our post-production work has been steady. Our vendors have had some slowdown, but we're optimistic about what's happening moving forward.
We have another presenter. You got a question?
I just want to comment. I just want to give a shout out to Moonshine. They've actually edited a production I produced many years ago, so cool. They're really good people over there, and Drew's a really good guy.
Moonshine, the people of the drink.
I plead the fifth.
Thank you, Misty. The Georgia, here we go. The Georgia Screen Entertainment Coalition. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I know I am sitting between you and cars or other meetings, so I will keep it quick. My name's Kelsey Moore. I'm the Executive Director of the Georgia Screen Entertainment Coalition. We are the film-focused affiliate of the Georgia Chamber, so you've probably seen us running around with our team down here. The GSEC, we like to just make it an acronym, is Georgia's trade association, really focused on the long-term stability and vitality of the industry here. We represent a number of businesses in the industry, everywhere from the Georgia studios, the content studios, state partners like the Department of Economic Development, the Georgia Film Academy, national partners at the MPA, and dozens of infrastructure businesses, communities, and kind of everyone in between. So we are really focused on what this industry means for Georgia for the long run. We want to keep it here. We want to keep it stable. So I will just turn your attention. You've got yet another piece of paper in your stack. You would think this industry might be able to do something digitally, but no. So I know that you know, when you all are down here making tough decisions, you have to have numbers and data and facts to back up these decisions and things to back up what we heard today and what we all know to be true. So I do want to turn your attention to an economic impact study, just to give you a couple numbers to run with, that we did in 2023. So just from the big numbers, we found that in 2022, less than 8% of productions would have been here in absence of the incentive. So I think we all understand how critically important the ongoing stability of the incentive is to the industry, but the economic impact study really did put the numbers to that for us. So of the productions that came to Georgia because of the incentive, we saw nearly 60,000 jobs, and those are the people that Wendy represents, saw nearly $3.54 billion pumped into Georgia households in wages and benefits. And these are jobs that are paying, upwards of $90,000 a year right at the get-go. They're coming with 401ks, health care, kind of those portable benefits that our Georgia workers need. And it had a total economic impact of a little over $8.55 billion in a single year. The result of that, kind of our end ROI, what are we getting from this, was that the state of Georgia saw economic impact of $6.30 for every single dollar, every $1 that was spent on this industry. So I think it's a pretty good deal for Georgia. I'd take it all day long. And so we really do appreciate the support of our state legislators and certainly this committee for what you've done. So just diving a little bit into it, out past those like really big numbers, is what does that mean for our communities from Columbus to Savannah across the state? The study found that nearly 67% of the money spent on production, so that, $4.4 billion, flowed to industries that had nothing to do with the film industry. So that would be your local lumber yard, that'd be your local hardware store. These are folks that would never tell you they're in the film industry, yet 67% of that spend went to those sorts of businesses. This single production we looked at also employed cast and crew from 37 counties. So this was a production I think was based around the Macon area, but had a wide reach for workers, and then 540 vendors from 35 counties. So a single production can have a really major impact, not just where it is, not just in Metro Atlanta or Savannah or Macon, but really does have a really wide spread. We talked a bit about the Georgia Film Academy. They've been great partners to GSEC. They have more than 30 institutions all across the state where kids can go in. They can take a couple classes, get a great internship, and move directly into the industry. And that program's graduated more than 20,000 Georgia students. So obviously, I'm talking to a friendly group here. You all understand the impact. You've seen the impact. And certainly all across our state, we've seen the neighbors and our barbers be involved in this industry. So I just wanted to introduce myself, reinforce with some numbers what we've all seen to be true, and then offer anything you all need, any information you need, or if you haven't been to a stage, we're more than happy to get you out there.
Thank you, members. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Christopher, would you like to come and tell us about who's the executive director of the Atlanta Film Society?
Thank you, Chair Stevens. Hello, good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, rather. I won't keep you here to the evening, I promise. As Chair Stevens says, I'm the executive director of the Atlanta Film Society, which is a nonprofit organization that produces the Academy Award qualifying Atlanta Film Festival. I also own 2 movie theaters here in the city of Atlanta, the Plaza Theater and the Terra Theater, the 2 oldest movie theaters. I'm probably the only person you've ever met that owns a movie theater. And in the context of what you've been hearing today, if we've been talking about Hyundai plants and the workers in it, then I'm the car dealership. I'm when that product actually comes out to market. So I want to share a little bit about what I'm here about today. So I have 3 organizations, just to put in context of where I'm coming from. 10 years ago, for instance, the Atlanta Film Society had 1 employee on payroll. Today we have 15. The 3 organizations I oversee, the 1 nonprofit and the 2 for-profits, collectively employ 35 people, probably about $2.4 million in payroll now today. We have generated over $300,000 in sales tax, paid $75,000 in property tax. So we're doing some stuff. I'm also the one who put Atlanta's name in the hat for Sundance and helped lead the effort alongside the city of Atlanta. And for those of you who don't kind of realize, that would have been cool, let me put it in the perspective that really matters for why we're here today. It would have been the equivalent of 2 Super Bowls every year for 10 years cool in terms of the economic impact. And that was a nonprofit organization and a nonprofit arts and culture event. That's the first time in decades that our city and our state went after the business of a nonprofit or an arts and culture event in the way that we aggressively go after bringing sporting events and conventions. So there can be big business, and there's a reason why there are states throwing hundreds of millions or millions of dollars at the opportunity to be able to draw that event. If you want to know more about that, I'd be glad to talk to you about it. But some other things have come up, and Chair Stevens, you mentioned 2008, and that's actually an important marker in history. So up until about 2008, the Georgia Council for the Arts was giving about $6 million a year in grant funding. And those of you who remember, we were one of the hardest hitting states, so there's no question that we had to make hard choices and cut back. The difference is that while every other state also followed us suit, by 2015, they had all restored their arts funding. We did not. In fact, we've been at about a $5 million deficit in funding from just where we were in 2007 for a decade. So $50 million that we haven't invested. Now, so what? Who cares, right? Economic development. Let me put it in perspective. So nationally, per capita, and I have a very cool, very old-fashioned display here. The national average of per capita spend is $2.17 per person. Right? This is what $2.17 looks like. Okay? The southeastern, yes, sir.
You did good.
Hey, I'm an arts guy. The southeastern average per capita spend is $1.57. Here in the state of Georgia, we spend 14 cents. We are dead last in the country, so it puts us 50th, and that's only if you don't include non-states like Puerto Rico, Guam, and D.C. Then we're 55th. Now, that only hurts those of you who care about the arts, and I don't expect that to be everyone. But it's funny, the Texas video talked about, oh, that's a good ROI, 4-to-1. You know, what's more cute than Matthew McConaughey is a 4-to-1 return on ROI. The state of Georgia gave last year $1 million in grants, and the nonprofit arts community turned that $1 million into $22 million. Now, this isn't estimates, this isn't projections, this is accounting in a study done by the state of Georgia. Now, I'll tell you quite easily how you get there. So we have about $1.2 billion spent by the nonprofits arts community in the state. Put in perspective, the for-profit film industry this past year was just about double that. Now, $600 million of that is the nonprofit organizations themselves, and $500 million of their spend is payroll to Georgians, right? So it doesn't take long to get there. In fact, the nonprofit organizations themselves paid the state of Georgia $10.3 million. And our audiences, as a direct result of coming to our programming, another $11.7 million. That's how you're getting to 22. And this is on a study that doesn't even account for 100% of the nonprofit arts organizations in the state of Georgia. Now, another point of perspective is we're not just a nice, fun thing to have. We're not just economic development. We work incredibly, especially my organization, incredibly closely with the for-profit film industry. For instance, we launched the PA Academy, which is a workforce development program. We've trained over 5,000 Georgians to be hire ready in one weekend for the cost of what you make getting paid one day. We partner with the studios when they say, hey, I'm going to need 20 production assistants, which for those of you who don't know is the entry-level position. Boom, we get the graduates from that program and they're placed. Now, for those who want better training, they go for higher paying positions and they want to move up in the industry, they go to Georgia Film Academy. I actually happen to be a graduate student at Georgia State University who worked on that study, right? So I've got a history with all this stuff. And Drew Sawyer, who we saw from Moonshine Post, was a classmate of mine at film school at Georgia State. So I've been around. But let me tell you other reasons, right? Because not only should you be looking at the film industry, how we capture the business that's out there, how can we expand to other verticals and make sure we get the post-production business, some a little bit of what I'm alluding to in the exhibition business. But there's an important aspect to all of this, and our nonprofit arts community has been a driver for talent for decades. The Atlanta Film Festival is 49 years old. And one of my favorite examples, we're one of the 10 most competitive in the world. Yes, we're Academy Award qualifying. Yes, we get 25,000 attendees. But the parts that matter most to me are what we've done in talent. I can say for a fact, in fact, he says this as well, that today Spike Lee would not be a filmmaker were it not for his opportunity to play in the 1979 Atlanta Film Festival. The validation in young and up-and-coming talent to have opportunities for their work to be seen, for them to be said, you know what, you're pretty good, you should keep going, is huge. The same is true with people like Walt Goggins, Ray McKinnon, Daniel Deadweiler. There's countless folks on both sides of the camera. Tom Luce, who you saw, it goes back to us, 1979. The opportunities people have in our nonprofit space is huge. This would be like saying we want to have an incredible professional football team or college, but we don't have it in the college level. We don't have any football in the high school level. Like, you're not going to be able to breed talent that way. So not only are we putting dollars in the coffers for the state of Georgia, not only are we driving tourism, not only do we create all these things, but we're creating Georgians ready to compete in this market. So that's a little bit of just what I wanted to say. We have some packets in front of you. We have some measures that the Georgians for the Arts is proposing to be able to help try and not make us last in public arts funding at the state level. And I think, I'd be willing to make a deal that we only do a quarter of what we generate, which would be going from the 1.5 million we are at currently to 6 million. So I think there's all kinds of solutions in terms of tying to the revenue we make. There's all kinds of other, I welcome discussion, questions, and outside of this or at any other time as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. And if you will, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to almost be the very end. If you'll take your blue sheet that you've got here, and if you'll look on the first page, this Wednesday will be our first field trip. Hope you and a significant other will join me. 7:30, we're going to make a field trip out at Atlantic Station, and you'll be the very first to see this.
All right.
So join me, if you will. Please, we need a head count, so if you'll get with Ashley and let her know if you're planning to come. If you like, yeah. So for those of you that want to bring tuxedos and furs, come on. Maybe it'll be warm. So, cool.
Turn down those 25 members that want to join the committee.
Yeah, and this is only the first of several different field trips. So please come. Thank you, Brandon, thank you for all the presenters that came and gave us the phenomenal stuff. If you happen to go to Savannah, for those of you that have ever seen a Mission Impossible film, the ice cream shop that is on Broughton Street, the director of all of those films, 300 million in some of those film productions, has an ice cream shop that you can barely get into down on Broughton Street. You ought to go down and visit it. So all these things are related to economic development. It is a very, very big deal. And I want to appreciate the committee for protecting the goose that's laid the golden egg. We are adjourned.